Welcome back to another video. Today I had a big emotional breakthrough and an emotional release that I'm going to be vulnerable and share here because I've always have. I talked a lot about my mother wound and my healing journey with my early childhood, middle childhood, and my adolescent. I haven't, however, myself in my personal life relived and went on a healing journey for my early adulthood. And the trauma that happened in this relationship, I didn't realize I had to release until I started to cry about, I was in the shower and I started to cry about everyone who hasn't apologized to me. I'm always so apologetic. I'm always giving out I'm sorry. I'm always changing behavior. But I wanted to, other than my mother, which she has in her way apologized, but other people either, can't or are not willing to have that conversation. But I've always been vulnerable here and I've gotten great support and community. And my starting point then might be someone's starting point now. So I'm going to share. So in this event that happened, I'm going to rename my ex Raymond and the other names in it. But for the most part, just remember Raymond. I'm working 2 jobs at this point. I'm working 2 jobs. I'm going to cosmetology school and I'm going to high school, all at the same time, all in the same senior year. So I meet Raymond at the second job I worked at the mall, and my counselor gave me that job. She just had to sign off for it if I looked for a job, and they were on the list for like helping and volunteering, and but I still got a paycheck and I got credit for my high school. So God's favor I was able to push through. The cosmetology school I went to, she was a sweetheart. She paid for my cap and gown for high school. Again, my mom didn't pay for those things. She wasn't communicating with me. Actually, she was no contact with me by senior year, if we really, put the language to that. She bought my cap and gown on her birthday. That's how I know there's a God. So Raymond was a manager at the place I worked, and he had just graduated. Like, I was in my senior year. I met him. He actually, see the choices I make. He was dating someone, and while they dated, I would never help someone cheat. That's just not my character. So I ignored him, but he kind of would flirt and I'd walk away, and I would already kind of feel uncomfortable because I'm like, he's a manager. I'm still kind of discovering the world, but I'm thinking just in my high school mind and my scarcity mindset, I'm like, oh, he's doing good. He's a manager. And then he was driving his mom's car at the time. I didn't know, but it was like a Land Rover. So I'm like, oh gosh, this man in my head, it would be a great provider. I'm already thinking husband, off of a manager position at a clothing store. I don't know, I had low self-worth, so just remember that, because I've had to have some self-grace and self-forgiveness as well. So they end up breaking up, and she came to the job looking for him, and so I already thought that situation was weird because she was staring me up and down. But I swear I didn't talk to this man. I don't know if he mentioned me to her, there's a new worker at the job or whatever. So I don't know what that was about, but she ended up moving out not long ago. He told me about it, and I was like, okay, he's single now, we can try to date. But in between, I didn't know this man was on probation. I didn't know he was living with his mom. I didn't know those things. And I'm just thinking, wow, he actually has a good mom, because she's just letting him stay there in his 20s. Like my mom, I've always had to figure it out from a young age, where to stay. So I'm already coming from in a trauma response that I don't know what a healthy man looks like until I met my husband. But fast forward, he starts cheating, and I mean like in the wildest ways. Like he would post like sex ads on Craigslist, like weird stuff. It was a mess. But he kept cheating, and I kept finding out like through text, but I never physically like saw him cheat on me like with another woman. So I just kept believing the lies. I'm just like, I was very gullible. I'm like, no, what he says, if he's telling the truth, you know. Like he would be like, oh, I'm just helping her get her GED. I'm laughing at how stupid I used to be. I'm gonna give some self-forgiveness later, but anyway, fast forward, he's working at the gas station. He says he's working overtime, but he was acting like really weird when he was like leaving the apartment. And I had just had our baby. He's 3 months at this time. My baby is 3 months at this time. And something was just like, you're not gonna know. Like my spirit all night was just saying, you're not gonna know until, because he just wasn't texting me back like at all, and he usually was like quick with the text. And something told me like, you're not gonna know until you see. You're not gonna know until you see. You're not going to leave until you see. And I was like, just show me. And I was just studying the word. Conviction of the Holy Spirit is the truth to see the truth and understand, like to have clarity in situations. So I would say my spirit I had a conviction of the Holy Spirit. And we were on the same family plan, like phone plan, and I found his location, like find my friends or find my phone or something. And I drive out. This is a trauma, so I'm gonna slow it down. I drive out to this park, and it was like the middle of nowhere. I have my 3-month-old in the back. I see my car. He's in my car. I'm in his car. And for some reason, I guess they didn't hear me or whatever. Maybe I had the lights off. So I lock the door. I keep the air on for baby boy in the back. And I go to the car and I open it, and I see Raymond with his pants down and Annika over him, giving him oral. And I started to slap her. I'm mad. I don't know why I went on, because, well, in my head I'm thinking, with him I have 18 years to deal with you. I mean, now we have boundaries. Clearly, he's remarried. He's married. I'm married. Like, we're great co-parents today in our 30s. This was in our early 20s, and really, I'm still a teenager. I'm like, no, I'm barely 20. I 19 to 20. I think I had my son when I was 20 years old, turning 21. So I didn't get to experience my early 20s. I have to grieve, and I think I am in the process of grieving my early 20s. Now that I'm in my 30s, and I'm just like, wow, you don't get that back, you know? So I close the door. I leave the situation. I didn't like beat her up or fight her, because she wasn't hitting me back. And I'm like, I'm not a bully. Like I was not, slapped her. She just was like, oh, you know, and I'm like, I'm not going to just fight someone who's not hitting me back. So you could tell, when I did that and she didn't do anything, I was like, this probably isn't her fault. But there again, I've been around his job with the baby. It was just but also he could have been lying to the both of us. So, I mean, clearly. But for some reason, you know, I'm young. I'm in my 20s. I geared my anger towards her. I later tried to apologize to her, but it was just weird. It was weird how that situation turned out. But that was a big early 20s trauma for me, because the betrayal in that. And so this is years after we met. We're like 3 years in, but we moved pretty quick because of the baby that we didn't have. And so I say all of this to say, if you are in your early 20s, I would never encourage you to live with anyone you meet that you are attracted to, or with a boyfriend. That wouldn't be my suggestion. I would never suggest or encourage anyone in their early 20s to have a baby. I would also encourage, I'll tell you the rest I would encourage towards the end, because when I left them in the car, I called his mother. She was a pastor. She was, like I said, a mentor to me, a mom to me. And I called her and told her the situation, what her son was doing, and she told me to shut up and get over it. Yes, she did. She said, shut up and get over it. And my people-pleasing trauma response was to pretty much listen. I hung up on her. She called me back and was like, did you hang up on me? And my low self-worth said, oh no. I dropped my phone because, what just happened. Guys, when I had to relive that image and her voice and that phone call and that moment, I grieved the crap out of my low self-worth and who I was in my early adulthood, and that I don't get my early adulthood back. And neither does my son get his early childhood back. I mean, I put myself in survival mode. I had to work all the time. Also was in survival mode and had to work. But thankfully, again, with going to cosmetology school, I was able to graduate high school and go on from those 2 jobs to just the 1 job at Supercuts. So with all that said, I would never encourage early pregnancies. I would never encourage you live with a boyfriend. I would never encourage having that boyfriend's mother as any type of mentor. I didn't have the locks changed yet, because he walked in. This is why I changed the locks, because he walked in and laid on the bed. From the gas station, just walked in exhausted and laid in the bed and just started snoring immediately. I never wanted to kill someone so bad. And that's, again, how I know there's a God, because I was like, I don't want to go to hell. I ended up changing the locks. His mom ends up convincing me to let him back in. And what I did was wrong, because I put his clothes in his car while he was over the chick's house. I didn't even bother them. Y'all do what you're doing. And I say all this to say, I would never, not you, I'm gonna stick to I statements, I would never encourage a 20-something to have their spouses, if you're not married, and even when you're married, be cautious, but if you're not married and your mom kind of just, you don't want to go to anyone else. You want to find mentorships and mothers and other people. If you are ever in that situation, don't allow criticism from your spouse's parent or them to make decisions in your life. I'm not saying go and be disrespectful. Hear them out, smile, yes, or not even yet. Don't say anything. Hear them out. be bold in standing in what's not comfortable or suitable for you. This man was emotionally tearing me apart, and I was allowing it. And that type of pain, to go to someone with that type of pain, if a young lady came to you and he's cheating on me, what else, what advice would you give, you know? So I'm coming from that place, that perspective. I would never encourage my children, they're all boys, I would never encourage them to cheat. And not that his mother encouraged him, but I would never encourage them to be with someone who's cheating on them. Let me get that straight. I would never encourage my children to be with someone if they cheated. If that was their will, I'd stop, speaking on it. And my mom did. That's one thing that she knew. I couldn't take her emotional abuse either. But I'm just speaking from an experience that, when I was operating in a low self-worth. And I've always been vulnerable with my healing journey. So the fact that this has been coming up in so many different ways for me to heal and not overlook, because I'm like, I don't have feelings for him. He's married, I'm married, we co-parent, we're good. But I didn't really, and not even blaming him for anything, just me grieving that I had so much potential, that if I would have, in one of those thousands of breakups, just stayed broken up, but I was chasing for a love that wasn't mature, wasn't ready, and I almost made it comfortable enough to cheat, because I'm like, as long as he's at a certain point of seeing how easy it was to lie to me about like text messages and pictures and his Craigslist ads, it was like weird. So just seeing those red flags and ignoring them, to where, at one point he cried on his knees and was like, and called the sex anonymous in front of me, and cried on his knees. Girl, I was packing a bag, and I sat down and hugged him and was like, God will heal us. I kept giving it to God. That was what I was being taught with his mother. She was a pastor. But now I know it's so different. I know the word so different because of that experience. So I'm not even mad that it happened. I had no anger when I had to release it. It was just pure grief. It was pure grief. And I just wish I could have helped the 20-year-old me. But moving forward from it, I just was able to release it without revisiting it in a negative way. So I just wanted to share that experience. And of course, this is my healing journey. I'm always going to be vulnerable of the things that come up. I don't know why God put this in my spirit to come up in this season, because I'm just kind of at a standstill. I'm not in isolation. I love networking and engaging, and I'm meeting a whole community of other healers and other people with just forward thinking and on their healing journeys. I'm just meeting my tribe, and we were in a healing circle sharing, our experience of intimacy and our first loves and all this stuff. And when I was able to release my childhood sexual assault, my CSA, I was able to, come to the point where, okay, what was my first relationship like? And what did I learn, and what would I encourage the next generation of 20-somethings that are at my starting point when in my 20s, now that I'm 30. So that's all. Now I'm 30. I have 3 boys. I definitely am blessed that even though he cheated on me and stuff, and handing out forgiveness just within my heart without apology, having a parenting plan in place that we follow, getting along with his wife, us really co-parenting, and I think a part of our healing was our spouses now. Like, she is his healing because definitely love her, and my husband's our healing because we're all able to just raise this boy the way he needs to be raised. And I couldn't ask for a better mess, you know. But I do have a lot of boundaries surrounding that emotional turmoil I was in my early 20s. So I hope it resonates with someone, and love you guys. And I hope that you have a harmonious day. Peace, love, and blessings.